Welcome to the market recap presented by Tackle Trading. Get in the game.
Good afternoon, Tackle Traders, and hello, YouTube. This is Frank coming to you with the market recap for November 11th. It is a Tuesday, and depending on what market you were looking at, it was a fairly boring day. But don't tell that to the energy markets. They definitely, there was some movement and maybe predictable movement in both natural gas as it continues to just scream up the charts, and crude oil as it continues just to plummet. So a lot of movement in the energy sector and the energy markets here today. Overall, a pretty indecisive day for the most part from a broad perspective in the market as stocks really kind of went back and forth. S&P closed down 0.15%, the NASDAQ 0.03 up on the day. The big mover was the Dow down 0.4%. So, I mean, it was just kind of a take a break, take five type of a day from a broad perspective, which is okay, which is okay. We need those days too, right? Some of us prefer those days. Some of us prefer the big candle days, but we always take what the market gives us. Hope everybody is doing well and the market is treating you right. Jumping right into it, the only S&P 500 company that we have coming out with earnings before tomorrow's open is Macy's. They do report before the bell tomorrow, so you can take a look at that, see how their earnings do. But you're out of earnings season when there's no S&P company reporting, after the market closed, and only one before the market opens. So, but always want to, stay on top of that. Taking a look at the S&P 500, not a whole lot to see here overall, in my opinion, at least, that we didn't kind of see yesterday. We continued to work towards the downward swing, but we continue to hold this little swing support from a few weeks back. I do think that is kind of an important price point. I really do think that should be a level of support. And if that falters, I'm not going to be surprised to see more selling. I also kind of expect that to at least try to be where we bounce. I'm not going to bet money, especially without any confirmation that we're going to bounce off of that. But I do expect that that's going to be a place that traders, are going to come back in, at least try to come back in. Those are my expectations, at least. Over in the NASDAQ, continue to be fairly rocky over here, continuing to struggle, closing again below that little swing support from last week, just like we did yesterday. We'll kind of start to build that little intraday floor. And maybe let's just go look at it on a 15-minute time frame here. You can kind of see we've kind of started to build a little bit of an intraday floor. If that floor gives out, I'm going to expect more downward movement over in the NASDAQ. We've already taken out support, which is not a good thing. All of a sudden, all these moving averages that could have been working for us are now kind of pushing us down. And so if we break that support level, that little 2-day floor that we've built, I would expect a little bit more selling as we work closer towards the actual low point back in here. NASDAQ continues to be an area I'm not a huge fan of from a bullish perspective, technically speaking, at least. Over in the Dow, not a lot to see here. I do think the Dow is the overall best looking index, and not that it's beautiful necessarily. Our charts are all, is what happens, when the market quickly, turns from being in one trend to another. It's trying to figure out if it's ready to, head back up or not. And there's going to be, we should expect at least some volatility, and that's certainly what we're seeing right now. I do feel that, this is the most likely index to put in that higher low, to take another run up towards resistance. Personal opinion, I don't know the future any more than anybody else, but that's the way I do feel about the Dow Jones right now. Again, as long as we hold this support level, I am going to continue to have a slightly bullish outlook on this index, and until we establish a new level of support that breaks, that will continue to be my read. And lastly, over in the Russell, continues to be certainly, if not as weak or weaker, somewhere near the NASDAQ. To me, I have a 1A, 1B. I think as far as which one I think is more bearish. Much like yesterday, I kind of looking towards the